In the image that we're looking at right here, Zeus is supposed to be battling the Typhon, or the Hydra, and this is from 540 BC. This is kind of early, and it looks like right here, there's a winged deity, and this winged deity has serpent legs. And Zeus here is throwing a thunderbolt at this deity. So in some ways, this deity represents Medusa and looks like Medusa, but this is supposed to be a Hydra, a Typhon. And Zeus is not really battling him again. He's throwing, like Marduk was throwing the thunderbolt at Tiamat. It's the same thing that we're seeing right here. This is Marduk battling Tiamat. This is Zeus battling the Typhon. And that's the thunderbolt that Zeus has in his hand. So is he battling him, or is he engendering the mushroom with the thunderbolt? Because that's what it appears. But the mythology tells a slightly different story. But even in the mythology, it was never meant to be real. So these are allegorical stories, and that's why you see all this mushroom symbolism everywhere. Here we see a comparison of Marduk slaying Tiamat over here, and it's from 885 to 860 BC. Marduk has his thunderbolt in his hands, and he's chasing after Tiamat here, who's a dragon with his wings. That's the dragon of the deep. So this is supposed to be a woman, Tiamat, and this is a very patriarchal scene. This is the conquering of the feminine principle. These myths only occurred in this sense once kingship started in Sumer and Akkad. So right here we see the same similar situation with Zeus battling the Hydra. The Hydra is feminine, and she has wings here, a serpent tail. This is 540 BC. Zeus battles the Typhon. Another Apuleian vase, this is a vessel, this is the Canthros that we saw earlier on the Greek coins. We're also going to be seeing this on Hebrew coins. This is very obvious when you look at this, that there's mushroom symbolism here. That is a mushroom cap. This is a mushroom that we're looking at right here when you turn it upside down. So this bowl right here, for whatever was put in it, it was most likely a mushroom sacrament originally. This is a very interesting coin. We have a wreath over here on one side that looks like it's made up of mushrooms. So that the mushrooms could be the source of the original wreath before there was a laurel or ivy wreaths. And over here, this cornucopia has what looks like a mushroom coming out of it. Of course, they could say that's a grape, but you know, it has the mushroom shape. This is from 40 to 37 BC. In this image, we see the medical staff, the caduceus, and there are several examples. And I can't tell you where these are from, but they could be on the side of medical buildings, hospitals, or possibly churches. But this one right here, as we can see, the wings on top and the serpent down below, symbol for the mushroom again, and it's got the shape of the mushroom right there. This one right here, wings up above, serpent down below, and it's got a torch for the torch of enlightenment, of course, which is what the mushroom is. Down here, this pair of wings and the serpents down below, and we have a pine cone. And so we can see all of this as mushroom symbolism. The pine cone grows in symbiotic relationship. The Amanita muscaria grows on the pine, birch trees, oak trees. These right here, this is the mushroom right here, and along with the twin serpents. And in this case, what we have, it looks more like the Liberty Bell, the Liberty Cap. That's why we get Liberty Cap mushrooms, and the Liberty Bell comes from the shape of the mushroom cap. And here's St. John and the cup of St. John. This cup of St. John is the Grail, and the Grail has the serpent in it. The serpent is the mushroom, the Grail cup is the mushroom. Here's an example right here where you see nature at its finest, and this little snake is sitting there, you know, all tucked into his mushroom. And you see the same thing right here. Here's the serpent in the cup, and here's the cross in the cup, which implies that the cross is the mushroom. And here's another case of the serpent in the cup. And so what you're seeing here is the church admitting that they understand that the serpent is the mushroom, and that is the Holy Sacrament. Right here you got a couple mushroom tops too. And these are some entrances to some holy sites, and we can see that the shape of these entrances is mushroom shaped. These are the Hall of the Cistern in the Palace of Zakros, and this is a bathing pool, which would be shaped like a mushroom, and there's steps down here that you would walk down into it, and pretty cool, nice bathing pool that could possibly be a spring, hot spring maybe. Here's the Thracian temple entrance, and again, mushroom-shaped doorway, wide open at the top right here. No reason for that in particular, just, it's not like you're carrying a giant tea boulder through the door sometimes. So this is called the Planquerolles fresco, and it's from France. It's from 1100 to 1200 AD, and it is a fresco of Adam and Eve in the garden with the mushroom and as the central tree of knowledge right here. And some people like to say that this is just a tree, and I think maybe some people might need to have their heads examined. But this is not a tree. If it's a tree, it's a way of describing the mushroom as a tree growing up out of the ground. So, like I said, this isn't something. The occulting of the mushroom was for an artistic purpose. In every case, you're going to see dual symbolism. And you're going to have something that can be explained away, something that they can tell people, oh, that's really what this is, so that, it's not obvious. It's a symbol for God and goddess, and it's not something that's just to be shown everywhere and flashed around and, and pointed out necessarily, like I'm doing in this video. This fresco of Adam and Eve is from Romania. It's from 1488 AD. And I would consider this to be probably one of our best examples. These don't really look like trees or anything but mushrooms. They are in the garden of mushrooms right here. The tree of knowledge, the fruit from the tree of knowledge. An image of Jesus, the Gospel Book of Otto III, the Sermon on the Mount from 1010 AD. And up here we see Jesus. And this is, he's got his halo of enlightenment right here, the mushroom gills, the mushroom cap. And this is the same image pretty much right down here. And instead of Jesus sitting up here, there's a group of mushrooms right here, which implies that the figure up here that's teaching is the same figure down here that's teaching. It's Notre Dame de Leon from France from 12 to 1300 AD. Jesus is obviously observing some mushrooms right here. And you can see the gills all along there and along the ridge of the caps. And those are definitely mushrooms. You can't say those are anything else. They're not trees. And there's Jesus with his halo, his mushroom cap halo right there. And here's a scene of a worshiper praying to Jesus or getting ready to consume the mushroom. This is also from the Chartres Cathedral. And there's Jesus depicted as a mushroom. And here's Jesus's head, and there's the ridging and the cap of the mushroom. And this is one of the more obvious images as well. And another image from the Chartres Cathedral. This time there is the Virgin Mary and Jesus right here. And as we can see, the Virgin Mary and Jesus are on a pedestal right here. And the pedestal goes up and enters into this large dome right here. And the dome has ridging all along right here. And also has this dots all along over here. And so what we see is the cap of the mushroom right here and the stem of the mushroom right here, and Jesus and the Virgin make up the mushroom. From the Codex Edberti, Healing the Blind Man of Jericho from 980 to 993 AD. This shows Jesus right here stepping up. He's got his halo right here around his head, and he's healing the blind man sitting under a mushroom tree. Collecting the manna from heaven from the hours of Catherine of Cleves. This is from 1440 AD, and just another scene of them picking up the mushrooms and picking them off the ground and showing that they're falling from the sky and they're collecting them in this scene. This is the kind of imagery that we would expect to see in many churches, knowing that the church was built and based around the mushroom. This is the kind of location and place where people are going to be doing ayahuasca, DMT, and all sorts of different plant medicines. So right here, of course, there's the mushroom, red with its white all up there on the cap, and the white base and stem right there. It's really beautiful, you know. we should be able to do the sacraments, and we should be able to do them in places like this, and we should know that when we do them in places like this, that we're protected, that we're not going to be, bothered by the authorities. The authorities should be providing protection so that people can do the sacraments in places like this safely. Now we're looking at an image of Salome with the head of John the Baptist above her head, and this is from 1343 to 1354 AD. John's head is on a platter. Salome is dressed in a red dress with white dots all along it, and she has a neck, a collar part right here that has white dots all along it as well. And let's see, so what this is it's a decapitation scene, and John the Baptist being decapitated is the mushroom cap being harvested. And this is the same thing that we see in a lot of sacrifice type scenes as well. The beheading is very, it's akin to the sacrifice. The head of John the Baptist from 1511 AD, John's head here on this platter is a mushroom. And here the platter actually has a base that makes up the mushroom stem, as we can see. It's just a sacrifice, and the beheadings are actually versions of the sacrifice. Here she is depicted as both a Christmas tree, a pine tree, and a mushroom. So you get both of that symbolism right here in this image, although this is really just the mushroom, but it could double as a tree, and if it was doubling as a tree, that tree would probably be the pine tree. Another image of the Virgin Mary, and this time the mushroom is a little bit more well occulted, and we see it though right here as the cap, and down here in her body as the stem. And you can see that because it's clearly separated from the red on both sides around it, and when you look at that and separate it with your eyes, it's a very clear mushroom. I've already discussed how the dragon is a symbol for the mushroom, being part bird, being part reptile. It is the cap and the stem of the mushroom together in one. And there are several stories, biblical stories, of people fighting dragons. There's Saint Margaret, Saint George and the dragon as well in medieval Europe. So two things that I don't have the time or ability to go into in this video, but I do much more so in my book, are the dragons and the monopedes and sciapods or skyopods and the cyclops, all of these different characters realistically. But in Marco Polo's travels, he talked about encountering some of these and the legends of some of these. He talked about encountering dragons and some of the people who worship them, and also the legends of these characters as well. But they were discussed as if they were actually real. So there was time periods where some of the writings of the travelers going around the world, they were writing myths. They were continuing the writing of myths even when they were writing about their travels. And a lot of people don't realize that. So this is from Marco Polo's travels from 1543, showing a monopod, a skyapod, a female cyclops, conjoined twins, a blemy, and a cynocephaly. These are all different medieval bestiary characters.